power creep in Overwatch. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Stylosa, and I'm joined by the glorious
Jeff Goodman here, and I'm here with a spicy, important quote. It's about Mercy, and it comes from the middle of 2018, and it's kind of the heart of this video, which is Mercy is intended to be able to consistently pump out more healing than any other healer over the course of a match. While this is currently true, yada 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 yada. That was from a year. Okay, I'm one amongst many as well. I did the intro. I don't care. That was from a time when Moira existed in the game. That was at the point of time when Mercy was nerfed a good while ago from 60 heals per second to 50 heals per second. And ever since, she's never really recovered, especially in that primary healer role. There's just not enough healing to go around if you're playing with a Mercy on your team, and maybe you got like Mercy Lucio or something, which used to be a really good mix of healers. Suddenly that doesn't feel like enough. What is that, Sly? What is power creep? Tell me what power creep is,
Okay, well,
what is it?
You know what power creep is,
I know
don't
what
be
it is,
silly.
but
Okay,
tell me
so,
all about it.
ladies and gentlemen, you guys have probably seen the video I put out the other day, which showed Baptiste and Soldier 76. Now, I also put this onto Twitter, and it absolutely exploded. So this was essentially, well, you guys can see it right now. It's Soldier and Baptiste, primary fire only into the barrier. Now, it must be stated that when Soldier does use Helix Rocket, he will destroy the barrier slightly faster than Baptiste will destroy the barrier.
Oh,
However, when you just look, obviously we won't go into detail on all of the different abilities all these heroes have got, because Baptiste is just infinitely better in every other possible way. The pure damage output from a support and from a DPS both are, let's just say, rapid fire hit scan heroes. The support beats the DPS at destroying the barrier. The support puts out more hit scan DPS than the DPS. Now, the reason why this is massive is because this perfectly encapsulates power creep in my mind, because on the one hand, you have got an original hero from the original Overwatch DPS cast. You've got Soldier 76, the quintessential FPS Call of Duty soldier man in Overwatch. That's what he is. That's the slot that he occupies. We then fast forward to this year. We're in juicy 2019, a very juicy year. Very, very juicy. I don't know why it's a juicy year. It just is. Just believe it, ladies and gentlemen. And we get Baptiste with a ton of healing capability, an immortality field, amplification matrix, a super jump, and a hit scan semi-automatic SMG weapon, 3-shot burst. That does more damage than Soldier.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Rat-a-tat bang! The support out DPS is the DPS.
Yeah.
Oh dear me. But Sty!
How do we get here, Josh? How do we get here?
Well, I'm a Zenyatta player. I've been out
Oh, no.
DPSing DPS for ages. But, and this is the important part. There is a trade-off with playing Zenyatta. You don't have quite as much healing. You can only heal one person at a time. Well, Baptiste, right now, actually on live, with the patch, on the PTR patch, it's a little bit harder to do this, but on live right now, if you hold down left mouse button and right mouse button, you can shoot at a barrier all day and heal your team at the same time. And that's really the kind of issue, is this inflation that we've seen on the healing front, the barrier front, absolutely the barrier front. And that's where the power creep really comes in. That's where it sort of ballooned out of control. Goats was a result of healing power creep. There's just so much healing going into the game with extra AoE heals, because in the original Overwatch there was only one AoE healer, and that was Lucio, and the AoE healing wasn't great. And then Brigitte came out with more AoE healing, more crowd control was added.
Well, I
more
guess
resources.
Anna kind of came out with some AoE healing, let's say.
Yeah, but even, like, that's so limited though. You don't get it like as consistently as you would with like the Brigitte and all that stuff running in. It's not as reliable, I suppose, is the word we want to use. And so as a result, the healing just kind of ballooned out of control. DPS has been sort of steadily, or like burst DPS, I suppose, has been steadily increasing in the game as well, especially with the addition of heroes like Doomfist, Hanzo becoming more reliable and more usable, Widowmaker players getting better and better and better. So the amount of DPS flying around was like one shot or nothing. Healing increasing meant that smaller amounts of DPS got like less and less meaning, and so the only people who could survive was tanks. And with all the extra healing in the game, well, yeah, you just pump all that healing into the tanks, and you just don't need DPS anymore. And as the tanks got better and better and better as well, then they've just sort of taken over the game. And then Sigma was added in. And Sigma, to me, like, you point at, like, Baptiste in that video, I point at Sigma as the crispest, cleanest example of power creep in the game. Because Sigma, to me, he was a failed experiment. And, you know, it's beautiful design by Blizzard because he's based around a failed experiment. And he is kind of a failed experiment at the same time, which is that he's meant to be like this main tank, off tank hybrid, right? He can sort of, you know, he's built for a role queue almost, where if you're a tank player, you pick Sigma, It doesn't matter what the other guy picked, you can play Sigma as an off-tank or a main tank. But what that actually has resulted in is he's an off-tank that does main tanking at the same time, right? A Sigma, you could just throw your barrier up by the Orisa shield, and then you can go and do all your off-tanky things. You have a stun, you have defense matrix, you've got like all this extra barrier coming in on top of you as well. You can body block, you've got this great team killing ultimate as well. You've got so many things you can do all at the same
His
time.
ultimate is probably one of the best ultimates in the game.
Yeah, there's so many things
no
you can
doubt.
do. You can do everything at the same time. Then why would you play D.Va? Like, D.Va had to make a choice, right? Me and you, we sat in enough scrims with like Smex in him to see that like his job was literally babysit the Ana or babysit the supports, put defense matrix on someone while they do a res. It's all that stuff. D.Va has to make a choice. So she either supports the tanks or supports the dive, or she goes and babysits the supports. Sigma can do both at the same time. And that's a classic example of power creep, where you get this versatility that's just unprecedented.
It's this hybrid nature, I think. I mean, Baptiste fits into this slot as well. I mean, he's DPS and he's support, but he's just amazing at both, which is crazy. Now, people were saying that, okay, you're not just going to be there with Baptiste firing and not healing, but you can, I don't know whether these guys are aware, but you can heal and fire at the same time. And I specifically put footage in that video I made on the issue of me playing. It was just quick play, obviously. But me playing as Baptiste, and in both of those games, I've got gold damage and gold healing. Now, that's a bit mad. That is actually a bit mad. Okay, it's not competitive, it's not a super structured environment, but the fact there is a hero that can do that. I mean, I know Moira, yeah, sure, but this is directly compared to, the hit scan DPS slot. So in that kind of way, Baptiste is... It's this modern hero design, right? You touched on it great with the D.Va example. You've got Sigma, who can do everything. And then you've got other tanks that are very one-dimensional, but that's kind of the nature of the way the game was originally designed. So my worry is we have got all these heroes which are heavily outdated and you just don't use them. I've always said that Overwatch could do with more heroes, and I think the way that they add heroes to the game now isn't good enough, because you think of it from a design perspective, right? If you want to add a new hero to the game, you need to make that hero fun to play. You need to make the hero's design compelling. You need to make the hero interesting as well. Sigma fits all of those, right? And I think Sigma's a good one to stay on because he's obviously the most recent hero. He fits all of these, right? He's fantastic to play. He can do a lot of stuff. He's really funny, feels powerful, blah, 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 blah. But he's one hero. Right? I don't think they can keep adding one hero and make the hero interesting enough for people to come back and play the hero and then buy the cosmetics and all of that stuff that go along with a hero, and just keep doing that. They need to, at some point, drop a number of heroes. Now, whether that'll be when Overwatch 2 launches, whatever, who knows. But there needs to be a time where they go, here are a number of heroes, which could potentially shake the game up. Because I really enjoy Overwatch when we get a new hero, and when we get major balance updates on the PTR, because what tends to happen is we don't actually know the way the meta is going to go for about a week. And then we do, and then it just sits into we settle into like a rhythm, and then that's kind of it, and then we're just waiting for the next bunch of changes. If there were more heroes added at one time, it might solve that issue. The other thing I want to jump onto as well, Josh, is I want to go back to Hanzo, because I think Hanzo is another good example of power creep. Scatter Arrow was exceptionally good at killing tanks. It would also kill DPS, don't get me wrong. You were probably there as well as me. You'd play Tracer and you walk up to a Hanzo and you just instantly die as he fires Scatter Arrow into the ground. It's like, oh, that's kind of annoying. And he could do this to a number of heroes as well. But of course, if he missed, then he's not really doing too much. So Blizzard's answer to this was to fix Hanzo. And what they did is they gave him the double jump, which is cool. I do like that. I think that's actually pretty cool for Hanzo. But then instead of keeping Scatter Arrow, they go, well, you know what? We're going to give you this ability called Storm Arrows, where you can rapid fire arrows. Now, they did nerf this, remember. They took away one of the arrows from it. Which, okay. Anyway, let me carry on before you go mental. Because I know you hate Hanzo.
Oh, yeah,
anyway,
I'm building up the rage inside.
I'm
ready
now
to unleash the dragon.
So obviously it's really good at destroying barriers, okay, right? Barriers are even weaker, so Hanzo's just going to be even better against the tanks that he was effectively nerfed against. But the problem is, Storm Arrow is good against everybody. So instead of it just being focused on, walking up to a tank or a high HP hero and then trying to blast them with a massive amount of spike damage, which didn't really feel great. Now it's like, actually, just have a machine gun Hanzo and fire that wherever you like. And we've all died to these random shots. I mean, just the individual Hanzo arrow itself is annoying when it gets you. You're like, oh my god, I've died. And it's super frustrating. But to me, that's an example again of this power creep where they are like, they're giving heroes more.
Yeah. No,
But at what cost?
So this is like one of the really interesting debates, I suppose, around Overwatch, which it cycles back to when the game was incepted in Jeff Kaplan's little brain, and he was like, man, I'm going to make a game all about heroes, and people are going to play the heroes, but then the enemy team is going to have a hero comp, and they're going to swap heroes to counter the enemy team. And he releases his little brainchild into the world, and people didn't. I don't know.
Little brain child.
And people didn't play it that way. It turns out people don't want to do that. They go, man, I really like Widowmaker. She's got a great big bum and a high power rifle. That appeals to me. I want to play Widowmaker all the time. And so they just play Widowmaker no matter what. No matter that the enemy team was like hard countering her from like every single role, they still played Widow. And that's kind of how the game evolved. And this is where I'm curious of where like this power creep comes in, because Baptiste, to me, is a sign of we want to release a support that the DPS people can play, right? We want to release a support that if you like playing DPS, you can also do that as well. Like in the original game, Lucio and Zen kind of did that as well. Lucio was very aggressive, very high intensity. Zen's the same. You focus on doing damage while supporting sort of almost incidentally. Like you put orbs on people and then you just shoot at the enemy team, right? Lucio's kind of the same. You put your aura on, you shoot at the enemy team, you boot people, you control people. Baptiste isn't quite the same as that. Like you've got to use a little bit of brain power, not a huge amount, but a little bit of brain power to land those grenades and to land your immortality field in places. But he's still got that versatility that helps him cope with multiple situations at the same time. The Hanzo example is a fantastic example of that as well, where it's like Hanzo originally, he was a meme for so long. He was a joke for ages, right? If you had a Hanzo in your game, you were like, oh god, right? Because he occasionally blew up a tank, but often he'd just spam arrows and wouldn't hit anything. Storm Arrow is so versatile, it's so good, it's so high DPS that you can now, you land one of your arrows and you go, oh, I just need to finish him off. I'm going to go, choo, and as long as I can hit 1 out of 5 arrows, he's probably going to die. So it's making these heroes more well-rounded and easier, but the weakness is, if they get so well-rounded, so powerful, the thing with Hanzo is he does tons of damage, but he's also got a very forgiving hitbox, so he's actually difficult to kill as well. He the way he stands when he's firing makes him quite thin. His head hitbox is quite small, so he's got not much grey matter.
It gets obscured as well when he's got the arrow drawn back in the bow. I think it just totally blocks his head.
It's like he's very difficult to kill in that regard. You look at other heroes like Soldier, who's like a big bulky dude. McCree's actually the same. He's a big bulky dude. They do less DPS than him, but are easier to shoot and less mobile. What's that all about? That's weird. That's a strange thing. And so it's this problem of like, okay, we've made him super versatile, and now he's just taken over the game, and now he's just categorically better than these other heroes. And a good example of another hero that is categorically better than other heroes is Doomfist. For the longest time, Tracer.
Can we talk? Because this will go into this. Can we talk about heroes with survivability mechanics?
Sure.
Do it. Talk to me about Doomfist, because I know what you're going to say here with Doomfist and Tracer.
Yeah,
you're probably going to talk about Doomfist's ability to secure kills, right, and get out, but a core component to that is the survivability of Doomfist, the ability to go in and come back out, restart the fight. And when you look at that, look at all the new heroes that have come out and look at what they can do. They can all kind of do this.
They all have safety buttons. They all have insurance. I mean, even like Reaper, who's been buffed and buffed and buffed, now has a Shadow Step that's reliable. He's got Wraith Form that reloads for him and gives him extra power as well. You can do the same thing. Doomfist, I felt Doomfist was actually fairly well balanced a couple of patches ago. When he got less barrier for doing damage, he still felt like glass. He still felt fragile. Like, Doomfist as an identity to me is, he's big, bulky, and maybe he should be like slapping people around a bit and bashing them around. He's built around that big, powerful melee hit. But at the moment, he's like a precision assassin who just gets in, annihilates a single person, and gets out before you even blink. It's like, surely that should be like Genji. That feels like it should be a Genji thing. Doomfist should be more like slapping around tanks, controlling the fight, all that kind of stuff. But no, Doomfist is this high precision assassin who's also immortal. Like, you need the entire team shooting at him, or you need to have, like, the McCree flashbang.
You play Zen. You're playing Zen. Doomfist comes after you. What happens? A Genji comes after you. What happens?
Yeah, if a Doomfist comes at me, like, I get uppercut, I fire some shots into him, and I just watch that blue health bar shrink, and then he punches, like, I die, and then he just punches his way out, and he's on full hit points still. And I just feel like, well, what the hell was the point of me doing anything at that point? Genji comes in, he's throwing shurikens at him, but I'm firing orbs at him, he deflects, I buy my time, I charge up, I fire my right click, I miss, oh, he comes at me, he kills me. And it's like, fair enough, dude, you outplayed me. Right?
And that is balance, right? Because it's like the quintessential example of this is Tracer against McCree. because McCree counters Tracer, but if he misses the flashbang, well, Tracer knows it's go time. That there is balance. That's the type of balance I want in the game. I don't want the rock paper stuff of like, oh, you've jumped onto me and you're Doomfist, and so if I play Doomfist. So if I'm playing Doomfist and the enemy team have got Zen, I'm literally rubbing my hands together. I'm like, this is going to be a joke. And all I'll do is I'll just find the Zen and kill him. Nothing. I know literally nothing beyond the Zarya bubble is going to stop me killing him, or some sort of heroic immortality field or something lands on him. I'm going to be able to mess him up, right? And that's all I'm going to do over and over again. At that point, yeah, sure, the Zen should maybe swap to somebody else, and that could be the argument that you go for. But it's just a situation of like, I want to see counters be meaningful counters, not just I press this button and I get away. Moira does this. So Moira outputs, this is to go on to the topic of just AoE healing in general. Moira outputs a ton of healing. Yes, I know she's been nerfed on the PTR, but she's still going to do quite a lot of healing. If you try and take on Moira as Genji, it's obviously problematic because she's just going to suck you, and then you're probably going to need to run away because you're probably not going to kill her before she sucks you and she's back to full health. And then, Tracer, kind of like the same. Doomfist can catch her off guard and take her out. But the point is, she's got a way of disengaging from the fight, or not necessarily totally disengaging, just that get out of jail button she can press to go, oh no, I might die here. I'm not going to die now, and I carry on. And the trade-off is you just press a button. Baptiste is the same. Oh, look, there's a high damage Sigma ulti on our team. I will drop down immortality field.
Yeah, and the issue is as well with the Moira example is that Moira can press that button to disengage. She's a very safe support, but she also has no trade-offs for that safety. She has no weaknesses. Like Moira's quote-unquote weakness is her limited healing supply. She can literally run out of juice, right? But when you're actually in a fight, it's not that hard to build up a little bit of extra juice and then still output way more healing than any other healer for almost no effort. It doesn't take much to just spray down your entire team with a bit of heal juice, right-click a little bit, spray down your team again. Whereas Ana, who can theoretically output tons and tons of healing, no one really begrudges that about Ana because you got to either land like a heal nade on your team, and then you got to land your shots. You can miss your shots if people are getting moved around and stuff like that. The enemy can body block you. They have ways of outplaying you and outskilling you and doing things like that. Moira, there's no trade-off. You can heal and heal and heal and heal until the cows come home, and it's just so powerful and so strong. I do want to wrap up on a silver lining though, where it does feel like Blizzard has started to realize this with sort of like the nerfs to barriers, for example, is a great sort of indicator that.
Well, this is going to be my next question. Where do we go from here?
Exactly. It's finding those points where there's a couple of heroes, for example, who don't suffer from power creep. Tracer's a good example. She hasn't been buffed in ages. She's always kind of been stable. There's a lot of heroes who haven't been buffed out of control or buffed into insanity. They've oftentimes just been nerfed almost and still kind of fulfill the same roles before. It's just everyone else is so powerful that they fade into obscurity. As we're seeing these nerfs come in, those heroes are going to start bubbling back up again. What I'd like to see is that idea of these heroes should fulfill a role in the team. They should be suited to a specific function, a specific range, a specific idea, and be careful of, oh, well, this hero can kind of do everything. Hanzo is a great example of a hero who can kind of be close range, long range. He can deal with so many different threats. He can blow up tanks. He can pick off various little bits of DPS here and there. He can scare people away by holding corners. He's got great ultimate, all that kind of stuff. But it's like, well, why would you play Ashe McCree or Soldier McCree if you could play Hanzo McCree, for example? He just kind of does everything a little bit too well. And so it's finding these points and power spikes that this hero should be really good at that, and then putting the power into that and making sure he doesn't do everything like a Sigma does or like a Moira does, who's very safe, can do tons of healing, has a good ultimate, and has no trade-offs as a result. Like, Moira's trade-off to me is like she doesn't have any superpower like Transcendence or Sleep Dart.
Yeah.
And that's Moira's only weakness. And that's not a great weakness that, oh, you're just really good at a baseline, but you can't, like, blow up an enemy team.
I just think my ultimate worry of this is, and I know this is sort of like memey and all of that stuff on Blizzard. It's just the speed at which they deploy patches to correct some of this stuff. It is so slow. Now, it might not feel slow to the developers because I'm sure these guys are working on tons of stuff and they're working miles ahead in the future and whatever, but it feels slow to us playing the game because right now we're sitting, like, this patch has been on the PTR for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Hello, Blizzard? Hello? There is potential that maybe on Thursday this week we do get an update onto PTR. Maybe that's why it's not gone to live.
It's gotta be.
Or most likely they're straight up just going to wait until Tuesday when what we believe will be the Winter Wonderland event drops, the patch comes out, the new skins, the new reskinned winter map, and then we just get on with it. But that's a month, 1 month of time where the game hasn't changed. We've seen updates that have not come out, that need to be out. And what really gruels me is if this stuff was on live after like a week or 2 weeks on PTR, they would have so much information now. I mean, they've even said this themselves. Literally 5 minutes of the game being live, they will get more info, more statistics than they ever would through internal testing or PTR testing. It's just a fact. The player base is much larger on live. They would be able to start looking at data and start working out bits and pieces. But data is not always the answer to these things. Like, we can see things are broken. You can see Baptiste does too much damage. Baptiste does too much of everything right now. Is he a support? Is he a DPS? Yeah, you want him to be hybrid Blizzard, but it's clearly he's doing way too much damage than he should be doing if you compare him directly to DPS heroes in the same game on the same patch. That is broken, so that needs to be addressed. But how long will this be? So I worry that even though we've all identified this now as Baptiste being super strong, we're just going to go into a period of Baptiste for how long now? It's just going to be the main support everybody needs to run?
Yeah, it's
like, is this going to be until next year?
Well, yeah, because we know how Blizzard
work.
I mean, because they don't work over Christmas.
Yeah. I mean, until Overwatch League starts, let's say. So, like, when is that? Like, February, is it?
Yeah.
Like, what? I don't know, man. I get worried. Guys, let us know what you think about all of this in the comments below. This has been a pretty good discussion on what power creep is and, like, how it's affected the game and some examples and stuff like that. And, you know, some ideas on how this could potentially be sorted. But I want to know what you guys think. Like, what heroes do you think are just suffering from this in a big way in both directions? What heroes are just getting out of control and what heroes are being left behind? All right, Josh, promote yourself. Do it, son. Do it. Where can I watch you, Josh? I want to watch you. I want to watch it. I want to watch.
You and everybody else, I'm sure, wants to watch me. Twitch.tv/one amongst many TV, 7 o'clock p.m.
Yeah, watch him.
Yeah, every single day except for Tuesdays and Wednesdays, because I like having a bit of a nap on those days at 7 o'clock. No, that doesn't make sense. I like being chill. Anyway, yeah, that's me.
All right, guys, it's been beautiful, and we will catch you on the next one. Toodaloo.
Bye.